This week we are asking you to mold, develop, and revise your research question. Last week we talked about brainstorming topic ideas. I enjoyed reading in the class forum discussions. You all have some great ideas for your research. Last week we also began discussing and reading about good, bad, and ugly research questions. In this week's forum, spend some time looking at some sample research questions, identifying what kind of research question they are, and working to improve them. Post your own research question and give feedback on your classmates' questions. Be sure to offer suggestions, ask for clarification, and recognize the good things they are doing. Let's take a minute to look at the assignment rubric. First, write a paragraph or two about how you brainstormed. It will be more interesting and helpful if you can explain where you browsed. As we all know, the internet contains vast amounts of information and resources. So rather than say you browsed on the internet, for example, tell us that you looked at Wikipedia articles and compared them with Encyclopedia Britannica articles. If you talked with friends, family, or classmates, talk about those discussions. What I am trying to say is that we expect you to include details. What are you doing to narrow down your topic? Are you reading in the Bagke book to get ideas? Are you watching this presentation? How do you know it is narrow enough for a 6 to 10 page college paper? Have you looked at the Loyola Marymount website titled Former Research Question? I really like how this webpage illustrates that a research question needs to address more than just one topic. William Bagke writes, a research question needs to answer a question or solve a problem. Notice how the main topic is at the center of the image on the left. If you can answer each of the 4 questions surrounding this main topic, then your question will be more focused. Yes, these are the 4 W's: who, what, when, and where. This example deals with video games and asks about their impact on children's violence. While the place and time questions do not factor into the actual question, they are assumed by the researcher. Notice the questions on the right. The question in red asks about the effects of video games on society. This is very vague. It leaves us to wonder what effects, on whom. The orange question is a little better since it looks at bad behavior. Still, we wonder what kind of bad behavior and on whom. The green question is good to go because it focuses on video games and a specific group of people. Children, and their violent behavior. Let's face it, a question such as, are children who play video games more likely to be violent? Could simply be answered with a yes or a no. In college, we expect students to evaluate the problem, so I believe that a how or a why question will lead to more analysis. One of the objectives of this and many other foundational classes is to increase your critical thinking skills. The how or why could be easily added to the beginning of the question. However, if you think this may cause you to be too biased from the get-go, then perhaps adding how or why after the question as a separate question would work. We will take off points from assignments that do not have a how or a why question. Be sure to look at the other example questions on this webpage to see how a topic can be revised into a research question that is not too vague or broad in scope. Use the brainstorming activity for details to help you write about your brainstorming. It may be that you can even use the spider graph to explain how your topic is narrow enough for a 6 to 10 page paper that will be able to go into some depth. Borrowing from the Forma Research Question page, if you are interested in plastic bottles and had on your spider graph these other concepts, environmental impact, consumer, disposal site, etc., then you could talk about the fact that each of these other concepts will focus your question even further. Let's look at a few more questions to practice together. How did the fishing industry in the North Atlantic Ocean depend on salt during the 16th century? Following the model provided on the Form a Research Question page, we can see that the main topic is the fishing industry. Other aspects include the North Atlantic Ocean, the 16th century, salt, and fishermen. As mentioned in last week's presentation, a research question may focus on a geographic region, but the aspects or other parts of the question will help to refine it. In this example, the main focus centers on Morocco, a specific country. The other aspects include the country's involvement in World War II and its culture. Compare this second question with the first. What is the difference between these two questions? Allow me to read them. How did Morocco's role in World War II influence the culture of its people? What was World War II's impact on culture around the world? Which one is narrower than the other one? Yes, the first question is narrower because it focuses on a particular country rather than the whole world. Be sure to look at your own question and ask if it is narrow enough. The main topic here appears to be horizontal violence as it relates to nurses. Additionally, the question looks at the impact that horizontal violence or bullying among nurses has on their patients. Following the former research question model, we have three main concepts: horizontal violence, nurses, and patients. Though we have not mentioned it, we could assume that we are interested only in information regarding this issue in the United States over the last 5 or 10 years. Each of these concepts narrows the question a little more. Let's look at one last health sciences example. A spider graph with the Ebola virus at the center might also include other concepts such as West Africa, treatment procedures, 2014 outbreak, and health professionals. Including each of these aspects would help to narrow the focus to a more manageable size for a college paper. One of the best ways to verify or find out if your research question will fly is to run a search in one of the databases. If you enter your search terms and find thousands of results, take that as a sign that your research question is still too broad. On the flip side, if you are finding only a few sources, then perhaps you have narrowed a bit too far. Use the research guides to find the databases that are relevant to your research question. If you have a health sciences topic, choose the nursing guide. Business majors should go to the business guide where they will likely find more relevant results. The CINAHL article database works for finding information on diseases, disorders, nursing, and other health-related topics. Start simple to see what you can find. Notice that the number of articles is provided. With more than 200 results, this appears to be too broad. Adding another concept reduces the number of results. This set of results would not take long to look through to see if they would be useful. Notice that the article titles include names of West African countries, so this is relevant to the question. Think of synonyms and shorten them with an asterisk, thus the Shift+8 key on the computer keyboard, to expand your results. This search brings back even more relevant results talking about the Ebola virus and health professionals' methods for managing the outbreak during the 2014 year. It looks like there are enough sources that may even provide some choices on how to further define or narrow the focus. Thank you for your time and attention to this presentation. We talked about the assignment on selecting a topic and developing a research question. I hope this cleared up a few things so you can find your way through the forest of this week's requirements. Please contact either Layla or myself if you have any other questions. We'll see you in the forums.